at this article here on bestlife.com. Fauci says this may already be keeping you safe from COVID. A common cold from 5 years ago could be helping you fight the coronavirus, says Fauci. The article goes on, because COVID-19 is a new coronavirus, it was initially believed that your T cells would not be able to detect it. It was assumed that T cells would only be found in people who already have COVID-19. But a new NIAID study published in the Journal of Science on August 4th suggests that up to 50% of the people who have not been exposed to the coronavirus have the T cells needed to fight the virus. Similarly, a German study published in the journal Nature at the end of July looked at 68 healthy people who have not yet been exposed to COVID. Among them, 35% had the T cells in their bloods needed to attack the novel coronavirus. As a result of this new research, experts believe that healthy individuals may have generated these T cells when fighting similar infections from related coronaviruses in the past, like the common cold. And the more recently an individual was infected with another type of coronavirus, the greater the chances are that they have some protection from COVID-19, Fauci told McClatchy. Wow. So they finally admitted that there is some sort of immunity via the T cells. That if you've had the common cold before, that it's likely you're somewhat immune. As in the T cells fight it off and you display no symptoms or little symptoms. But hey, we were told by Fauci to lock down everything, and he's still trying to lock down everything regardless and destroy our entire economy because this thing is so contagious. But yet, the mortality rate is nowhere near what we have been told. I'm so tired of Fauci's wishy-washy propaganda, and I think President Trump is too, you see, because Trump just changed Fauci's entire COVID-19 game with one single appointment, and that is this. President Trump just added to his COVID task team a man that I think you're going to approve of. Take a look here at theguardian.com. Trump unveils new COVID advisor who backs reopening of schools. Thank you, Jesus. And I mean that. Dr. Scott Atlas will be working with us on the coronavirus, says President Trump. But just who is Dr. Atlas? You see, weeks ago, Dr. Atlas went on Laura Ingraham's channel and went public with the information on T cells and the immunity of it. You see, Fauci hid his information under a rug and never took it public, but Dr. Atlas did. Take a listen to that clip.
Which is that there's a lot of great data coming out about immunity, and it's probably not known to the public, but there's a lot of data shows that people have immunity, even people that didn't get the infection. There's a reason why the original ship with no social distancing, only 24% of people got the infection. And that's probably due to this T cell immunity, which is present and is now shown to last for years from papers from Sweden's Karolinska Institute and Singapore. They take blood from people from SARS-1, and 17 years later, there's indication that that blood still has an immune response. So I think people should be much more optimistic here.
I'm quite curious if YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter are going to censor Dr. Atlas like they censored the other doctors off of their platform now that he's part of the coronavirus task force. You know, but here's some other things you really need to know about Dr. Atlas, because here's an article that he wrote in an opinion piece on The Hill, right? That tells a lot about what he thinks about the coronavirus. Take a look here, and it's on thehill.com. The data is in. Stop the panic and end the total isolation. Now, in this article, Scott Atlas wrote 5 facts that are being ignored by those who are calling for these continuing near massive monstrous lockdowns, right? He's saying this is what's being ignored. Fact number 1, the overwhelming majority of people do not have significant risk of dying from COVID. A majority of people do not, but you don't hear that from the mainstream media. But here's the stats I want to share with you. He says the recent Stanford University antibody study estimates that the fatality rate, if infected, is likely 0.1 to 0.2%, a risk far lower than previous World Health Organization estimates that were 20 to 30 times higher, and that motivated isolation policies. In New York City, an epicenter of the pandemic with more than 1/3 of all U.S. deaths, the rate of death for people 18 to 45 is 0.01%, or 10 people out of 100,000 in the population. And this is what we're locking down for, right? On the other hand, people age 75 and older, which basically have a higher risk of dying of pretty much everything else anyway, right? And older have a death rate of 80 times that. For people under 18 years old, the rate of death is 0 per 100,000. And in other words, you have less than a 0 chance of dying. 0, he says, per 100,000 if you're under the age of 18. What on earth are we doing? The simple answer, protect the nursing homes. But hey, we got Fauci in charge who wants to make money off of things. But thank you, President Trump, for getting your head on your keister and adding this guy in. Fact number 2 that he points out, and again, you don't hear the mainstream media talking about that. Why? Because they want everybody to be afraid. Fact number 2, protecting the older at risk eliminates hospital overcrowding because they're the main ones that end up in there. Fact number 3, vital herd immunity is being prevented by total isolation policies and prolonging the problem. Thank you. We cannot get to herd immunity if everything's shut down all the time and we're collapsing our economy. And mind you, we will, because people and homelessness is going to explode by the end of this year. Fact number 4, people are dying from being denied other medical care due to hypothetical COVID-19 fatality projections that turned out to be garbage. Whew. That's a big one. People are not going in to get health care, not getting normal checkups. They can't go in for normal stuff because COVID is more important than cancer and AIDS and malaria and every other virus and disease and problem under the sun. Give me a freaking break, right? And fact number 5, we have a clearly defined population at risk who can be protected with targeted measures. And basically in that part, he talks about putting protective measures in the nursing home, like against what Como is doing. Como is sending COVID-19 people back into the nursing homes. That's the stupidest thing you could do. But this is what we're doing, right? Dr. Atlas also put out an article on The Hill warning that the lockdowns will in fact take millions of lives. Take a look here on thehill.com. He wrote this again. The COVID-19 shutdown will cost Americans millions of years of lives, and he is not wrong. I have been warning on this on restrictedrepublic.com. I have talked about the fatality rate for months now. If you've gotten on restrictedrepublic.com, if you're there, awesome. If you're not, get over there. There's a 14-day free trial. But I've got so much information over there. And now all the information that got suppressed in the beginning is now coming out in the open, thanks to Dr. Atlas. Now, the bad news is he's one good guy so far, anyway. That could change, in about a sea of 7 to 8 to 10 other people who are on this task force who are completely against Dr. Atlas. We need to put Dr. Atlas in charge of the whole dang group. That's what we need to do. But on the COVID task force, there's still other people who have a financial benefit in things like remdesivir and the vaccine, right? But at least we've got one good guy in the bunch, and I don't know how much change that's going to make in the near future. But President Trump needs to replace Fauci, get rid of Fauci altogether, and some of the other people that have been lying to you, the public, repeatedly and repeatedly and repeatedly without even sharing the appropriate information. Anyhow, I love all of you. Thanks again for tuning in. Don't forget to go on to restrictedrepublic.com. Also, I'm going to be at 2 virtual conferences. The Final Warning by Steve Quayle, it's in the description box below, and that's going to be October 16th and 17th, as well as Paul Begley's The Deep State Unveiling, and that's going to be October 30th and 31st, but they're all virtual. It's a virtual conference, so many of you have the opportunity to check that out. So information in the description box below. Anyhow, I love you all. I'm Lisa Haven, signing out.